You're listening to Coffee and Sports from Wire to Wire Sports Network on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel.
Walking through a ghost town, y'all ain't playing my sounds. Don't tell me to calm down, don't tell me to calm down. Only time I go backwards is when I wanna moonwalk. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. We are who we say that we are. Yeah, we're lost in the stars, and it's all from the start. Never running no pace, never on the right page, but we still read that book, and we still run that race. Mississippi Racer riding out, no shortcuts, no time for that. Mississippi Racer riding out, till the wheels fall off, I'm driving that. Mississippi Racer riding out, we'll stop burning, strike the match. Mississippi Racer riding out, red light, green light, red light, good night. Hey, red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 Time to chill, don't sweat it.
Good morning and welcome. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show powered by Wires, not Wire Network. Thank you so much for making us part of your morning routine. I am Chris, and of course, that over there, that is Mo. It's no longer Caribbean Mo. It's no longer on a boat Mo. It is just, normal in his normal place Mo. Mo, how was the cruise, my guy?
It was a blast. It was hectic, but it was fun. But the way it works is it starts off being the party of a lifetime, and then after day 3, I'm ready to come home. It was because you really couldn't find a quiet spot, and I don't mind, a little celebration, but I'm the kind of guy that I only need a little bit of that, very little.
Right,
and
right.
There are no quiet spots on that cruise.
Well, we are just exiting championship weekend, so we got a lot to get to. Let's start with the Eagles and the Commanders. Mo, you and I have seen enough in sports to know that when it comes to fairy tale stories, usually they end one of two ways. They end the magical way, which is making it to the championship, winning the championship, right? And then the other way they end is the less magical way, which usually involves crashing and burning and us watching them just absolutely fall to pieces in front of our eyes. Very rarely, Mo, does a fairy tale story have a valiant go down swinging, almost there, but not quite there. It happens from time to time. But generally speaking, if we're talking Cinderella or we're talking fairy tale or we're talking Charmed, it isn't one of the knight in shining armor, almost had it, fought until it's usually the other thing. And it's the other thing that we saw with the Washington Commanders. Mo, it wasn't pretty. The magic ran out. They weren't the better team in the NFC Championship game. They looked very much like a team being led by a rookie quarterback. The turnovers that weren't really an issue all season were an issue. The little things, just learning from your mistakes, adjusting to things on the fly, all the way down to the basic things of wrapping up and tackling and making sure all of your assignments are covered. It all just snowballed very quickly in that game, to the tune of them giving up 55 points to the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC Championship game. Mo, the Philadelphia Eagles had 7 rushing touchdowns in the NFC Championship game. The Dallas Cowboys had 6 all season long. Yeah, it wasn't pretty. Now, obviously, if you are a fan of the Washington Commanders, and listen, they did the thing where they dressed up the Rocky statue. I get it, right? I get it. Your interdivision rivals, it sucks. Philadelphia is really pouring it on this morning. It's all part of it. That's what happens when you go to NFC championship games and you don't win. It's not a bad thing, Washington. Now, I know you don't know this because you haven't been there in a hot minute, but it's okay. This is what happens when you go to NFC championship games and you lose them. The other side is absolutely brutal. The other side tears you apart. The day after, the national media kind of tears you apart a little bit. It's okay. That's not a bad thing because I think you might be in the conversation to be there again next season. And Mo, that's the big thing with Washington is I don't know if they get back to the NFC championship game next season, but I do think they're a playoff team. I do think they have the potential to make another run in the playoffs. Now, I just as easily think that they could miss the playoffs because we don't know, right? We don't know how much of this was magic. We don't know how much of this was charm. We don't know how much of this was the breaks falling their way. We don't know how big of a step back Jaden Daniels is going to take. But Mo, I look at the Washington Commanders and I say to myself, they found their franchise quarterback. I look at the Washington Commanders and I say to myself, this is the best ran version of this Washington NFL football team that I've seen in 25 years. I look at the Washington Commanders and say to myself, yeah, the Eagles are really good, but the Giants aren't great. The Cowboys aren't great. If you told me next season Washington's the second best team in that division, I have no issue believing that. Now, granted, they could be the second best team in that division and still miss the playoffs, but being the second best team in your division, that's a good start if we're going to build from there. So, Mo, I look at Washington and it sucks. It's that's not the way you want to go out, but the magic ran out. You played a much better team than you were. And we said this last week. When you play a team like the Eagles, that on paper, all things aside, on paper, the Eagles were a better football team. Now, we didn't think the Eagles were going to play this well. We didn't think the Eagles were going to have a running game that played this well. We thought Washington was going to be able to do a little more to slow down Saquon Barkley in the running game, which they didn't. But what we did say was you got to play clean football. And that goes for any team in the playoffs. No, you got to play clean football if you're going to win playoff football games, much less on Championship Sunday. And they just didn't play clean football. And it's the turnovers, it's the play calling on 3rd and 4th down, it's the drop passes. It was across the board that it wasn't clean. So for me, Mo, it's a complete team loss for Washington. They didn't play well really in any of the phases of this game, and they were outplayed in every phase by Philadelphia. And as a result, that's why you see a 55-23 score. So if you're Washington this morning, just take it. Take the beating from Philly, take the media backlash, and hope two things happen during this offseason. One, your organization fills in the holes that you have, because you definitely have holes. And two, that they try to prepare the best they can for the adjustment the league is going to make to Jaden Daniels. Because if you can do a decent job at both of those things, this could easily be a 10-win team next year.
I agree. While that game was coming to an end, when it was grinding down to an end, all I could think about is what the Redskins could be potentially going forward. And we talked about this before. I think Jaden Daniels could have a better season next year, and the record not necessarily reflect that. Because I don't think as a whole, offense and defense, this is the most talented team. I think they went on a great run. Like you said, the magic, sometimes calls go your way, plays that normally don't work go your way. But I came away with no question in my mind, they've got their quarterback. Let's start there. If you've got your quarterback, you've already gone over one big hurdle. It's the biggest hurdle. And I do think in that division, it's not going to shock me if the Redskins are the second best team in that division. And if the front office does go out and recognize we need more playmakers on the outside, it's important again. We need to go out and get a number one running back. They've got two good running backs, but they don't have a special running back. Go get a special running back. Complement your quarterback. Complementary football is going to win games when everybody's not playing their best. The game itself, it's weird because with all the turnovers, Chris, with all their mistakes, there's a moment when they're back in the game. And he drops back and he throws the pass to Eckler, and Eckler tries to get back up. And, of course, another turnover, another fumble. And I think in that moment, game over. Lights out. It's over.
Yep. At that point, it's an 11-point game. They're driving.
Right.
They have a chance to make it a one-score game.
Right.
And that nonsense takes place, which, by the way, watching it in real time, and I get it, watching the replay, I don't know. I look back at it. I was watching that before we came live here, Mo. I'm not saying it changes anything, but I looked at that in real time and I was like, how are we gonna call it that quick? Like, I understand the Eagles guy jumped on it and then the pile ensued. But Mo, how many times have we seen what it looks like one team jumped on the ball and then the pile ensues and another team comes out of there with it? I mean, in this particular one, the ball actually ended up out of the pile in between the Commanders lineman's legs, and then he scooped it up. Like, it wasn't just a situation where, like, something happened in the bottom of the pile and the Commanders player came out with it. It actually left the pile and was picked up by a Commanders player, and they just said, no. The Eagles had control. I was like, okay, all right. Well, like I said, the Commanders did not play well enough to win this game. I'm not saying that was at all a thing, but that was just a really weird time for me, for them to have like a really definitive opinion of what took place in a dog pile.
And look, I'm of the belief when you compete and play against the Philadelphia Eagles, if you can't be competitive with them at the line of scrimmage, that's on offense and defense, you can't beat them. You have you can't compound it by turning the football over. No. But you have to be competitive at the line of scrimmage. If not, you're already behind the 8 ball. And I never really thought the Redskins were competitive at the line of scrimmage when they needed to be. And look, Saquon in that game, I know he only carried the ball, I think, like 15 or 18 times. But if he needed to, if he had to carry the ball 25 or 30 times, he probably would have had close to 200 yards. There were multiple times that he ran the ball where he looked like he was about to break another long run. Like, it just, the tackling wasn't there. And look, the Eagles' offensive line, they can overwhelm you. Their wide receivers actually block well also. So, I'm going to give the Eagles their flowers for doing what they needed to do. They came out. They were the favorites. I thought if it was going to be a great game, the Commanders would match them and be competitive at the line of scrimmage. And it wasn't a great football game. The Eagles won. The Commanders had a great season, but that's what it was. It's a great season. Now the hard work for the Commanders front office starts. Who on this roster was a Band-Aid person? Because we weren't even supposed to be this good this year, Chris, right? Nobody expected that. So who are the guys that are going forward that's going to be part of our future, and who are the guys that are one and done? The hard work kicks in now. How do we make things better or easier for Jayden Daniels in year 2? Meanwhile, the Eagles move on, and you get a rematch, which is going to be interesting in itself.
Mo, Patrick Mahomes has more Super Bowl appearances than Lamar Jackson has playoff wins.
It's rough. Look, but we said this too, right? When Lamar and Josh Allen matched up, somebody's going to take a double L, right? Because
Lamar definitely took a double L.
Right. You're going to take a double L. And the same way people were going, Josh made a great throw when they came at him with the blitz, and the guy should have caught it. And I was like, it was catchable, but don't tell me it was an easy catch. It wasn't an easy catch. It wasn't a Jackie Smith, or even if you go back last week, it wasn't a Mark, and that was an easier catch to me. But that's the way it goes, right? Lamar now, we're going to look at him and go, well, we know what he's going to do next season. He's going to put up phenomenal numbers, be right there in the hunt. And the real question will be like, well, we don't care about the regular season, Lamar. We need to see, because that's what we're going to wait on, right? Playoff Lamar. Well, I kind of feel the same way about Josh Allen. He beat Lamar, but you lost to Mahomes again, and I'll stand up when I said, if he can't beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs the way they are now, as the most wounded, vulnerable, this is your year. Everything says this is Josh Allen's year, and you come up short. Why would I think you're going to be able to beat him in the future? Like, and by the way, Buffalo fan, I'm not raining on your parade. I'm not saying
I will.
I'm not saying big picture that Josh Allen still won't lead you to a Super Bowl. I just know that if Patrick Mahomes is in the way, he won't. I like, they never say it, right, Chris? Nobody ever says, come on, CJ Stroud, or we knock him off, right? Nobody says that because they want to seem like competitors. Like, of course we want to play the Chiefs. Come on. You know, in the back of their minds, the Ravens, the Bills, come on, Stroud. Come on, fellas. Like, you don't want to play that. Because it gets into your head, man. And after losing the way they lost yesterday, that only enhances the mental anguish. Do I hold Josh Allen a little bit higher up than Lamar? Sure. But that's because he's had some playoff success. But in the bigger picture, we're talking about going to the Super Bowl, winning Super Bowls. Well, neither one of them ever done that. Like, they're different, but in the bigger picture, they're the same. And it's one guy standing in the way once again. It's the same guy. And he's only 29 years old.
Mo, in the regular season, Josh Allen is 4-1 against Patrick Mahomes in his career. 4-1.
So he dominates him in the regular season.
0-3 in the playoffs. I believe it's 0-4 now. I believe the 0-3 stat was before yesterday's game.
Right. It's 0-4.
0-4. What does that say? I mean, Josh Allen, to all his credit, he had the best line of the playoffs after his loss yesterday, which was taken directly from the man, Ric Flair.
Yes.
To be the man, you got to beat the man.
Right.
To be the champion, you got to beat the champion. Listen, do I think that Kincaid had a first down? Yes, I do. Do I think that Josh Allen probably had a first down? Probably. I couldn't see the football. I saw where his back was. I saw where his number was. I can assume where the football was in the middle of his chest.
I'll say it. Judging by where his back was, come on, man, that was a first down.
Probably had a first down. But Mo, here's the thing. The game was on the line. It's a 3-point game. Less than 2 minutes to go. The ball's in Josh Allen's hands.
Correct.
Everything that took place before that, every single play, led you to that point. 2 minutes to play, 3-point game, Buffalo driving. I thought they were going to kick a field goal and tie the game because they were in Chiefs territory. So I was like, we're going to go to overtime. That's where you want to be if you're Josh Allen. Because at that point, Mo, nothing else matters before that. It doesn't matter about balls that were dropped or should have been caught or were close to being caught. Penalties don't matter. First down, not first down. Nothing matters when the game is on the line, you're within one score, and you're driving down the field. That was the time for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills to stand up, to slay the dragon, to put the sword through the chest of the Kansas City Chiefs, and they didn't do it. Now, it's really convenient, Buffalo fans, that after they didn't do it, you want to go back and say, referees! Like, Kincaid had a first down. Allen it's absurd. It's rigged. But wait, why are we talking about that? Why aren't we talking about the execution on 4th and 5? If you just made that play, you're on the outskirts of field goal range. You're on the verge of tying the game. Wow. Let's talk about that play, the play you didn't execute. Because had you executed that, you probably tied the game. Potentially, you win the game. Who knows what happens at that point? But you want to go back and you want to talk about how you feel you were robbed earlier in the game, when despite all of that, you got exactly what you wanted if you were the Buffalo Bills. You had the ball moving down the field with a chance to tie or take the lead with less than 2 minutes to play. That's what you wanted. What you didn't want is to have the lead and have Patrick Mahomes have the ball with less than 2 minutes driving down the field with a chance to tie or win the game. That's what you were trying to avoid. You were good despite all the ups and downs, Mo, and there were a ton of them. You were down 21-10 earlier. You punched back right before halftime. Then you come out and you punch back in the third quarter and you take the lead. Momentum is on your side. It was all setting up for Buffalo, Mo. Mo, after they score and take the lead in the third quarter, I sat there and said, oh, shoot. Josh might do this. You could feel it.
It felt like that. Yeah.
Everything starting to swing in Buffalo's direction. Then Buffalo gets the ball with just over 2 minutes. They're down by 3. They start moving the ball towards midfield. They get into Kansas City territory. I'm sitting there saying we're at least going to overtime. Like, I don't know if they're going to score a touchdown here, but we're going to overtime. Like, this is going to be a great finish. And it wasn't. And Mo, I think sometimes, and we do this with Josh Allen, we do this with Lamar, we do this with Patrick Mahomes. And I think we're spoiled a little bit as sports fans because we just assume it's going to happen, right? Like, once the Bills start moving the football, we're like, oh, they're going to score. We don't know what they're going to score, but they're going to score. Like it's just that easy. Like, it's just that easy where because they're moving the ball, they're going to score. We kind of forget this is the fourth quarter of the AFC Championship game against the two-time defending champions. And I hate the Buffalo Bills. And I hate Josh Allen. And I'm sitting on my couch going, well, they're going to at least score a field goal here and take it to overtime. They might win the whole game right now. But I was convinced they were going to score.
I was too.
It's not that easy, guys.
And maybe we need to remind people it is the two-time defending Super Bowl champions who's been in every situation. You are going up against one of the great defensive coordinators in NFL. Spags, when he needs it, even if your offense have had some success against him, when he needs to dial it up, Spags dials it up. It happens. And I'm like you. I just thought it's a certainty at a minimum we're going to overtime. We're going to overtime, and it gets even more interesting. And it was kind of a dud. They didn't at least get the field goal. And so the excuses in the past was, well, you can't blame it on Josh Allen. It was the defense. He didn't have the ball. Well, you had the ball last in terms of that opportunity, and you came up short. You and the offense came up short. And look, here's what blew my mind is if you're Buffalo, this game shouldn't have even flowed this way. Kansas City, this entire season, wishes they could score 30 points a game. I think they did it once. And they scored 32 on you. Like, for them, that's an explosion times 10. This is a team that struggles to move the football. And give Andy Reid credit. They had multiple design runs for Patrick Mahomes. And they were all effective, and they all this is play calling. This is game planning. He's like, I'm going to generate and help Kareem Hunt out and generate more explosive plays. And they did that. The one thing I respect about Kansas City is, as a team, especially what Andy Reid does offensively, he's like, no, we're not an offensive juggernaut, but I can generate situations to where we can move the football. Patrick Mahomes, Chris, has become one of those masters of draining out the clock. You know what I mean? Like 3-yard pass, 7-yard pass. You know what I mean? Like he will milk the clock, knowing full well they're not built to go back and forth. They're not built like that. And yet they had 32 points yesterday. If you told me, Mo, going in, KC's going to score 30 points, I'm telling you they're going to win. And they won. And
by the way, we didn't think they were going to do. Win or lose, we didn't think they were going to score 30 points on Buffalo.
We did not. We didn't. I thought, their best bet for the Chiefs. And by the way, that wouldn't have stunned me if they won 20-13 or 17-13. I thought it was going to be in that vein. So yeah, I'm surprised with the offensive outcome. I'm not surprised with the actual outcome. I'm not betting against Patrick Mahomes because it's a losing bet.
This Buffalo this morning is in the same exact situation that Baltimore was at this time last year. Same exact situation, in my opinion. Baltimore was the team last season. They were the number 1 seed. It was at home in Baltimore. They had an unstoppable offense. Lamar Jackson was going to be the 2-time MVP, which he eventually was. They were the team to beat. They were the odds-on favorite. Everything was lining up their way. Kansas City had never gone on the road in the playoffs before, right? Like everything was going their way in that game, and they lost. Buffalo was in a very similar situation. Yes, it was in Kansas City, but Josh Allen was having the MVP season. Josh Allen is probably going to win an MVP this year, which, by the way, I still think it should go to Lamar.
Agreed.
Buffalo was playing their best football under Sean McDermott. I think Josh Allen had his best season as far as efficiency and consistency and not doing things to hurt his team that he has ever had as a Buffalo Bill this season. They beat the Chiefs earlier in the year. They did that. Everything said Buffalo is finally going to get over the hump. Buffalo is finally going to win this game. Oh, but by the way, it's playoff Pat and playoff Travis and playoff Chiefs and playoff Andy, and they don't lose very often. In fact, there's only one quarterback that's really kind of had their number, and that's Joe Burrow. And who knows if he'll see the playoffs again anytime soon, Mo, because it's a disaster over there in Cincinnati.
Yes, sir.
Josh is in the same boat this morning that Lamar and the Ravens were in at this point 1 year ago, which was you sit there, you look around the room, and you say, wow, it was supposed to be our time. The Chiefs couldn't score 30 points this season. They didn't do it. They didn't score 30 points up until this game. This is their first 30-point game of the season, Mo. Couldn't score 30 points. Patrick Mahomes not going to the Pro Bowl. Travis Kelce looked pedestrian for most of the regular season. These were all legitimate talking points coming into the playoffs, and they were all accurate. The Chiefs hadn't scored 30 points. Mahomes isn't going to the Pro Bowl. Kelce did look old many times this season. And then in the playoffs, it didn't matter because they still found a way to get the job done. So, Mo, if you're the Buffalo Bills this morning, and I don't know, do I think firing Sean McDermott is going to make a difference? Probably not. I mean, maybe in the long run, if you bring in an offensive guy, maybe. It's not going to make a difference next season because they're going to have to learn. It's going to be a new system they're going to have to learn. They'll probably still win double-digit games. They may or may not win the division. But do I think I mean, I don't care. Give me a name. Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick walks into the building. Do I think with Bill Belichick there, they're beating Patrick Mahomes? Maybe. I don't know. I don't think it's a sure thing. Like, Mo, at what point do we look at it and we just say, that's the guy that Josh, he can't. Like that's the guy. And I get it. He's done it 4 out of 5 times in the regular season. I don't care. He's never done it in the playoffs. And they've lost a bunch of different ways, right? And a lot of them have been like this. Really, really close where we thought they might do it and they didn't do it. So, Mo, I get it. Law of averages says when you play a bunch of times and all the games are close, the other team's going to get a couple, right? Law of averages says the other team's going to get at least 1 or 2 of them. Hasn't happened yet. And we know how hard it is to get back to these championship games. We know how hard it is. I know the Chiefs make it look easy 7 years in a row, but look at the other side of that table, right? Patriots were there early on. They haven't sniffed it again. Tom Brady left. I think year 2, it was the Titans. Ryan Tannehill that was there. They haven't sniffed an AFC championship game since then. Then it was the Bills. This is the first time the Bills have gotten back since then. In between the Bills, it was the Bengals a couple times. They went back to back. They won one of them. Look at them this morning. We don't think they're anywhere near an AFC championship game appearance next season or the season after right now because we think that franchise is a disaster. Last year, it was the Ravens. Ravens couldn't even get past the Bills this season. Like, going into next season, say what you want, but Mo, what are we going to do? We're going to pencil the Chiefs into the AFC championship game because why not? They've been there 7 years in a row. So until someone knocks them off, we're going to say, okay, it's going to be the Chiefs. And who's it going to be this year? Could be Buffalo. Could be Baltimore. Could be Cincinnati. Maybe it's going to be Houston. Who knows? But the point, Mo, is that if you're Buffalo, there's no guarantee it's going to be you. If you're Baltimore, there's no guarantee it's going to be you. Could be another MVP-type season for Lamar, MVP-type season for Josh. CJ Stroud could have an MVP-type season. I think Joe Burrow had an MVP-type season this year on a bad team.
Right.
There is no guarantee. So, Josh, you've had 4 stabs at it now to knock the Chiefs out, 2 of them in the AFC Championship game, and you haven't done it. I'm sure you're going to get at least one more. I'm sure you're going to get at least one more stab at the Chiefs. I'm not saying it's going to be in the AFC title game, but I'm sure you'll see Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs again because I think the Buffalo Bills will be in the playoffs again. But, Mo, at what point do we look at it and it's no longer about the X's and the O's? It's mental. Because if I'm Josh Allen, I don't care what you say to me. I don't care how disciplined I am. I don't care how great I feel about myself. You've lost to the guy 4 times in the playoffs. And many have been heartbreaking and gut-wrenching. There is no way. No way. And by the way, one of them was at home in Buffalo. There is no way that you can play this guy in the playoffs and not think about that. There's no way.
And if you're part of his core, like on the defensive side, you think about it the same way. Here we go again, right? Here we go again. Here's my thing that makes it scary. I remember this feeling, even though I'm more an NFC guy. I remember this feeling when the Patriots were in the midst of their run, because it became wash, rinse, repeat. They're going to win their division. They're going to be sitting. They're going to get a bye. They're going to beat beat whoever they match up against, and I'll see you in the AFC title game. They're going to win the AFC. They were in their run, and we kept thinking about, oh, well, how scary is it if Brady got more weapons? We got more weapons. He got Randy Moss. I'm thinking, what if Kansas City comes full circle? What if whatever happens this season, they reload and suddenly he has a number 1 receiver? You know what I mean? Like, this is Patrick Mahomes winning championships with good football players, mind you, but nobody on their offense should go, oh, you know what I mean? I don't think you game plan for their wideouts. Xavier Worthy has great speed, but he's not a great route runner. He can't consistently beat one-on-one coverage. Travis Kelce is a runaway Hall of Famer. No debate about that. But he's not Travis Kelce from 3 or 4 years ago. You can see it. He's showing signs of age. I guess what I'm saying is, if you can't beat them now, and they're fighting with one arm behind their backs, what are you going to do if they ever reload? Like, he's 29. If he ever gets to reload and suddenly he's got a Pro Bowler on the outside and a Pro Bowler in the backfield with him, why wouldn't he make it to as many Super Bowls as Tom Brady? Like, he's on the verge, obviously, Chris, of doing a first, right? He's on the verge of three-peating. That doesn't happen in the NFL. You don't three-peat. It's too hard. And he's on the verge of doing that. It will be a first. Somebody put forth the question, if they complete the three-peat, are they the greatest dynasty in the history of the National Football League? I think it's an amazing accomplishment. I'm going to say no, but I'm only going to say no because the three-peat's amazing and they will be the first to do it. It's still not more actual Super Bowl wins than the Patriots run. Like, I'm in awe of the three-peat, but I'm much more in awe of 6 or 7 in this. I'm more in awe of the 6 championships. That's bigger to me in the bigger picture. I mean, you might disagree, but I just think what New England did, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen unless Mahomes and Reed and Spags can keep it rolling. Like, we're talking about doing a three-peat. But what if at some point we're at 4 or 5? That's especially in the free agency era being what it is, that's when it gets scary to me. If you tell me Patrick Mahomes and Reed three-peat, and let's say they don't get 6, but what if they win 5 when it's all said and done? Yeah, I would say that they got a three-peat on their resume and they won 2 more.
What if they go 4? What if they go 4?
I'll even give you that. You three-peat and then and maybe you 4-peat. If you 4-peat,
yeah, if they 4-peat, that gives them 4 right there.
Right.
He had one before that, so that's 5 total. Let's say he gets back to a couple more and he loses on the back end. So he ends with 5 Super Bowls. He has, say 8 or 9 appearances. Wins 5 out of 8, 5 out of 9. And in there is a 4-peat. I don't know. I don't know.
So here's the thing. With the 3-peat, just talking about the 3-peat. With the 3-peat, he's already bumped Montana out the way, right?
Right.
That's just like he's already out of there. Some would argue he's already out of there now. But if you 4-peat, I know what Brady has done in the bigger picture, but if you 4-peat, and like you said, he still makes it to a couple of more and barely loses, I'm not going to argue with anybody that makes the case that they're the greatest dynasty and he's the guy. I'm not going to make that argument against that.
Because technically, he could 4-peat, make it to a 5th in a row,
right?
5 straight Super Bowls, lose that one, and it's insane to talk about Mo, but he's already halfway there. He's already made it to 3 in a row. He's trying to win his 3rd in a row right now. If they beat the Eagles in 2 weeks, why would we not be talking about a 4-peat? Why would we not? At that point, him winning Super Bowls is literally happening as frequently as them winning divisions and getting to AFC championship games. Like, if they win 3 in a row, there is 0, unless you are just a hater of Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs.
Right.
There is no reason to go into next season with and not say they're going to win their division. They're going to make it to the AFC championship game, and they're a favorite to win the Super Bowl in the AFC. If you can't be on the page for those 3 things going into next season, if they win this Super Bowl, even if they lose it, you probably should be there. But if they win it 3 in a row, and you can't just say, okay, that's the floor. We're probably going to see him back in the AFC championship game. Can this quarterback knock him off? You're just a hater of the Chiefs at that point.
Which
because
there are.
what more do you got to do to just get the respect of like they're going to be there? Because, Bo, they've been there 7 years in a row, AFC Championship games.
That's crazy.
Only one has done it more. Tom Brady at 8. And listen, we talk about Michael and LeBron, specifically LeBron, and how we're always like, LeBron knows. LeBron knows where the numbers are. LeBron knows where the records are. LeBron knows what he has that MJ doesn't have, and he leans into that sometimes. If you don't think Patrick Mahomes isn't aware that Brady's been to 8 consecutive AFC Championship games, you're fooling yourself. He knows. He knows the number is 8, and he's probably eyeing 9 because Patrick is smart enough, Mo, to know that when his playing career comes to an end, just like LeBron early on was smart enough to understand when his playing career came to an end, if all things were what they should be, the conversation was going to be LeBron and Jordan, which it has been for a decade and a half or more.
Right.
We know what the conversation is going to be when Mahomes' career comes to an end. Mahomes or Brady. And that's what it's been for the last 3 or 4 seasons. And a lot of us have been sitting here saying, well, pump the brakes. Brady did this for 20 plus years. He did a lot of things. He had a lot of Super Bowl appearances. He had a lot of Super Bowl rings. We know what it looks like it's going to be for Patrick, but let him actually get there first, and then we can have all those conversations. Here we are. He's getting there, Mo. 7 years, 7 straight AFC title games, looking for a three-peat, looking for his 4th Super Bowl win in 7 seasons. He's starting. He ain't there yet, guys. I think some people forget the fact that Tom Brady had 2 careers. He had the early Tom Brady career and the late Tom Brady career, which, by the way, are better than most people's entire careers that he had at 2 separate times in his career as a quarterback, Mo.
I like the way you put that. He did have 2 careers. The early Brady, when they were winning Super Bowls, he was a gamer.
Yeah,
but he wasn't a dominant or elite quarterback. The older, more polished, master of his craft, Brady was clearly by far the best quarterback in football. Just dominant in every way. Brady won before he was anywhere near his best version of himself.
He won a lot.
Once he was his best version of himself, he was even scarier. You just kind of expected it. What's scary to me, and I'll keep bringing it up, you just said 7 straight AFC title games. He's 29, people. He's 29 in an era where beyond a major injury, quarterbacks are playing at a high level well into their 30s, their mid to late 30s. If Patrick Mahomes has this continued success at age 29, he's going to play in 7, 8, maybe even 9 Super Bowls. And I have to believe he's going to win most of them.
And he's not Lamar. He doesn't run around. He doesn't depend on his legs and that wrinkle. He can run around. We saw it yesterday. He does have the ability to move. But, I look at Lamar Jackson, Mo, and I say to myself, what happens when he's like 32 or 33? Like, what happens when he gets a little bit older and his first step isn't as quick and the wiggle isn't as deceptive and the speed isn't a 10, but it's now a 9 or an 8.5? Like, what happens?
That's a great point.
Because as those skills deteriorate naturally with age, and I'm not hating on Lamar Jackson, but let's be honest, a 30-year-old athlete is not a 20-year-old athlete. It's different. A 35-year-old athlete is not a 25-year-old athlete. It's different. So he is going to naturally have to overcome some hurdles athletically as he gets older. And I'm not even talking about injuries. I'm just talking about the natural loss of your God-given abilities, because we aren't all LeBron James. We don't all have 40-year-old bodies performing like peak 26-year-olds, okay?
Agreed.
He is the exception to the goddamn rule. So Lamar is going to have an athletic drop-off in his 30s. Can he overcome that as a thrower of the football? Patrick is going to have an athletic drop-off as well, but his game isn't as predicated on his athletic ability as Lamar's is.
It's not.
So as Patrick drops off athletically and he loses a little bit of mobility and he loses a little bit of that, throwing touchdown passes as he's about to face plant the ground. Yeah, he's going to lose some of that as he gets a little bit older. But Mo, I think he's better equipped to be more of a pocket passer. I think he's better equipped to be an Aaron Rodgers, if you will. I'm not going to roll out and run for 15 or 20 yards, but I am going to shuffle step 5 steps to the right, which is going to buy me all the time that I need to do what I need to do to deliver the football. And that's what Aaron Rodgers was over his career. He ran a lot. Aaron Rodgers ran a lot more early in his career. But as he got older, he learned to just maneuver the pocket. He doesn't need to run. He just has to take 6 steps to the left, and that he has all the time in the world, and his field vision and his ability to read a defense and this cannon of an arm is all he needs. I think that's the version of Mahomes we're going to see as he gets older. And I look at a guy like a Lamar Jackson, and I say to myself, I don't know what Lamar is going to be at 34 or 35. I know what Patrick's going to be at 34 or 35. I can see Patrick playing to 39, 40, 41. I don't see that for Lamar because I don't think that's what his game is. Josh Allen, I don't know.
I think Josh Allen's kind of in the same basket as Lamar. If you want to tell me he's a better thrower of the football, he is.
He is, but he runs a lot.
He does, and he doesn't. How can I say it? He doesn't avoid contact. He takes a lot of big shots. Like I don't think the running quarterback. I'll just put it out there. The running quarterback, no matter how great they are, I don't think they age as well as the others do.
They don't play 20 years. They don't play 20 years.
They don't. Like what Patrick Mahomes has mastered. He's done the Aaron Rodgers thing, but he can run. But more times than not, he just extends plays. He's not a runner. He runs when he absolutely has to. Josh Allen and Lamar, they run first many times, and they're gonna take more shots. Right now, Lamar still got a first and second gear. When he's in his 30s, that gear's not going to be there. Can he stand in the pocket and make you pay when the defense realizes, right? Because they're going to realize like he can't run like he used to. So he's different now. Can he make you pay from standing in the pocket? Can Josh Allen make you pay just being more of a drop back passer? I honestly don't know. What I do know is the running quarterback never ages better than the pocket passer. They just don't.
Mo, here's a crazy stat for you. Over the last 3 seasons, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow have combined for nearly 40,000 yards together. 321 touchdowns, a combined record of 96-42, 6 Pro Bowl appearances, 8 playoff wins, and 0 Super Bowl appearances. Sometimes, Mo, it's not about who you are as a player. It's about who you're playing against. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow individually could dominate the NFL for the better part of a decade. That is how good all 3 of those quarterbacks are. Unfortunately, they're trying to do it at a time where Patrick Mahomes is here. And they continuously run into a wall, with the exception of Joe Burrow. He got through once. But they continuously run into a wall that is Patrick Mahomes that they cannot overcome. This is how people felt playing against Brady. However, the only difference is, and this is why I tell people, if you're a Bills fan or a Ravens fan, the Bengals have already done it. The Bengals have already broken through in the Mahomes era and got into a Super Bowl. Don't forget, Peyton had 2. Don't forget, Ben had a couple.
He did.
Now, they neither of them had the consistency that Brady had. And I don't think that any of these 3 or any other quarterback over the next 5 or 6 or 7 years is going to have the consistency that the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes have had. They're not. But they're not going to win the next 8 Super Bowls. They're not.
You know what? The only reason I'm rooting against that is because obviously I have my own favorite team. So, you know what I mean? Like, outside of my own favorite team, my own interest, yeah, that's a scary thought.
Well,
so
they're not going to get to the next 8. They're not going to get to the next 8.
Yeah, let's put it that way.
There's going to be blips along the way, right?
And you hope if during the blips that one of those blips is Josh Allen, one of those blips is Joe Burrow, one of those blips is Lamar. Because here's the thing. Those 3 guys, as great as and they're all great players, they're not chasing Mahomes because they're not going to catch him. That's already left. That train's gone. They're not chasing Mahomes. But what each can do is still be elevated as a football god. Buffalo, I mean, is there any more the most playoff Super Bowl hunted franchise ever? If Josh Allen wins 1, that city erupts in a way that it's never erupted. If Joe Burrow brings us 1 Super Bowl to Cincinnati, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know the Ravens has already won before, but if Lamar can bring 1 during his time there, that would elevate him. So if you're telling me, or if we're telling the listeners out there, we're telling you guys, there's a chance because there will be blips. There will be an off year where the Chiefs might come up short, which means somebody else gets an opportunity. But I'm with you. They will be blips because and I know the next season they're going to be back, right? Right after the blip, they're back in the AFC title game. And I think the opportunity comes down. But here's the scary part. During the blip, what happened if during the blip it's not Josh Allen? It's not Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. What if it's Tua? What if he gets on what if you guys just, you know what I mean? Like, that's got to be even more crushing. Like, okay, so the year Mahomes doesn't do it, what are we doing here? This guy took, you know what I mean? Because that I think those kind of things could happen. It's the beauty of sports. When we assume something comes out of nowhere.
What if it's Shador? What if it's Cam Ward? What if it's one of these rookie quarterbacks that's coming in next season or the year after that?
Don't forget Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh's in town.
Right. What if it's Justin Herbert? You know, it's one of those things where you look at it, and that's the point I was trying to make earlier. Like, we know that Josh has been to 2 AFC championship games, lost to the Chiefs both times. The Bengals have been to 2. Lamar has only been to 1. But there's no guarantee that they're the ones that get back, right? We think Josh will be in the playoffs most years. We think Lamar will be in the playoffs most years. We think that Burrow might be in the playoffs more often than he's not in the playoffs. But again, getting to the playoffs in the NFL, a little bit easier than it used to be, but still a challenge. Getting to the AFC championship game, that's the hurdle because you play the best of the best in the playoffs. And to get through the grind of a playoff run and then get to an AFC championship game, I mean, just look at the last 7 AFC championship games while the Chiefs have been on this streak. In the AFC, Patriots, Titans, Bills, Bengals. Then it was the Bengals again. So it took year 4 of the Chiefs' run to get one AFC team that got there multiple times. Then it was the Ravens, and then it was the Bills. So in the 7 years the Chiefs have been doing this, they've only seen 2 teams twice, Bengals and Bills. It is hard to get to AFC championship games. It is hard to get to NFC championship games. While the Chiefs are doing 7 in a row over here, if you look at the NFC side of it, the Niners went 4 times, 4 out of 7. After that, it's the Packers twice, the Eagles twice, the Rams twice, and then you got the Commanders, the Bucks, and the Saints in there. It's not easy to get to multiple AFC or NFC championship games in the same decade. What the Chiefs are doing is insane. It's not normal. What the Patriots did was insane. It's not normal. It's hard to do this. And like I said, look at the Patriots. They did it with Brady at the start of this whole thing. Haven't sniffed it since. Look at the Titans. Haven't sniffed it since. The 3 best quarterbacks in the AFC, Allen, Burrow, and Jackson, have been there the last 5 years. But like you said, what if Tua and the Dolphins have one good year where it all kind of works out together? What if CJ Stroud and the Texans and that great defense put it together for a year? What if Harbaugh and Herbert put it together for a year? None of those are out of the realm of a possibility. Mo, we're not even saying they beat the Chiefs. That's not even the conversation we're having.
Right.
We're saying, what if they go on a run and just get to a championship game like the Commanders did this season? That's one less opportunity for Lamar, for Josh, to overcome that hurdle and knock off Patrick and get to a Super Bowl. And that is where the whole craziness of this situation is, Mo. It's hard enough to win a Super Bowl. But what we're looking at now in the AFC is it's like twice as hard just to get to one. Correct. Because of what the Chiefs are doing. Like, and that's the absolute crazy part in this whole situation. So we're not breaking down. Good.
If we don't beat the Chiefs, what do you do then? Then you start talking about, is it time to get rid of John Harbaugh? And
right, because what else can you say?
Right.
Gotta get a new coach. Right. Beat the Chiefs.
Right. Look, you and I don't think McDermott's the greatest coach in the world, but I don't think he's the reason they didn't beat the Chiefs.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, but we need to get rid of him. And do what? Who's the upgrade? Who's the upgrade that's going to beat the Chiefs? Because it's not working that way.
You've been to 2 AFC championship games in the last 5 years. Josh Allen is playing the best football of his career. What coach are you going to bring in that is going to unlock something that is going to get you past Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs? Because that's all you're looking for right now if you're Buffalo. All you're looking for if you're Buffalo. And I know the defense has some holes. The O-line could be a little better. There's always improvements you can make year to year as a football team. But really, if you're Buffalo, you got to beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. And like I said, unless Andy Reid is walking through the door and he's going to coach the Buffalo Bills, Mo, I don't think there is a single head coach out there that I would hire today and say to myself, all right, we're going to go beat Patrick Mahomes now in the playoffs.
You're the guy.
Not one.
No. I love what you brought up about Andy. You know what? To go back to another topic, the running quarterback doesn't age well, but the one running quarterback that was famous for running, who had a terrific season passing more than running, it was like one really great year. It was Michael Vick, and Andy Reid was his coach.
just saying.
just putting it out there, folks. Just putting it out there.
Mo, a great show on a Monday. Take us to a close, sir.
Thank you guys so much for joining us on a beautiful, exciting AFC, NFC playoff game weekend. It was amazing. Make sure you check out all the great content we have at Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network, we appreciate you.
Hey, we're back here same time, same place tomorrow. We're going to discuss the ridiculousness that is the Dallas Cowboys. By the way, Mo, they got a new head coach. Super exciting stuff over there. We're also going to break down all of the other coaching hires in the NFL as we gear up for Super Bowl weekend, the Pro Bowl, and the upcoming NFL off season. All of that and more. Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network, and we'll see all of you